go. Here we go. Hello, everyone. Good day. Good day. Guess what? It is. It is Impact Podcast evening. So excited to be with you. I will tell you this. We tell you this all the time. The conversations that happen prior to us going live. First of all, it started with talking about time and things starting on time. We were here ready on time. If you guys want to, you can contact StreamYard and let them know that we stopped live on time because it wasn't us. Okay, we were here. Just want to say.
Witnesses.
Yes. So in the meantime,
and I was on time.
We all were here. We all were here, but it wouldn't let us. It wouldn't let us go live. But we had such an amazing conversation about two things. And so we want to kind of open it up a little bit to you guys. One was about the concept of time. And so Damaris brought up the line that my husband loves, which is on time is late, early is on time, and on time is late. And so I'm just wondering where all of you sit with that. Let me ask you, Melanie, and then we'll have you introduce yourself. What say you in regards to time? Is it on time or is it nope, got to be early?
So actually, I truly do believe in divine timing. And I think we arrive exactly when we're supposed, like when the divine timing gets us to where we need to be, because sometimes I will enter a room, and I personally like to be on time or early. But sometimes I will enter a room and then like something will be being said where I've entered the room late and something's being said, but it is exactly what I need to hear. It was like I arrived in the room to hear that exact thing. And I might have missed it had I come in earlier. I definitely would have missed it if I'd come in late. So that's my 2 cents on the subject. Just saying. Because sometimes, sorry, I said that's my 2 cents, and then I'm going to give a 3rd cent on this subject. You know, sometimes there might be an accident or something, and we're frustrated because, you know, we think we're late, but we don't know what like I call my higher power God, right? So I don't know what God is maybe preventing from that I would have got. Maybe I would have gotten into that accident had I been, you know what I mean? So that's my 3 cents on the subject. Who's next?
Same, you nailed it. Dr. Obiama, where are you with time?
I agree with Melanie 100%. I am a person that absolutely loves to be early. And I like to be early because you don't know what's going to happen, and life be happening all the time. So I'd rather be early and relaxed and sitting in my chair or at the table. Besides the fact, I got some control issues, so I need to get there early so I can kind of scope out the place, kind of know where I'm going to sit. And also parking. So everything is strategy with me. So being early that gives me a lot of peace. But I do agree with the divine timing. And so when divine timing is at play, I yield to that. I do not get frustrated. I'm very kind with myself.
I like it. I like it. Damaris, I know you kind of told us a little bit, but where are you with time?
It's funny the way, as you guys are talking, I asked my AI, define me.
And what did they say?
I am a person that likes to be ahead of time. If I'm at least 15 minutes, I need a time just like Obiama to scope out the place, to see how the atmosphere is, how it's going to be, to prepare myself mentally, right? Because I'm an introvert when it comes to big crowds, and I don't like, so I need to amp myself up. But my AI defined me as a taskmaster. And it's so true, right? Because everything to me is schedule by schedule, and I don't stop until all of my deadlines and everything is done, right? And even if I go into the next day of doing things, being on time, I wake up extra early to meet that. So I like even to be on time with completing tasks and things that are, people are expecting of me. So Yeah, a taskmaster. That's what it is.
So, you know what I love about this conversation, or partly what I love about this conversation, you guys? So, we were all talking about that we're all moms, right? So, we all have kids. And given how we are, and what you were saying, Damaris, about being an introvert, even like if you had like some of us who have children who are unlike ourselves, right? Who that child might need that time ahead of time to get acclimated, to get to the place early, to get to the party early, to be there when like the other kids arrive, or they're more sensitive to the noise, or to really tune in to who that child is to help them with that transition or what they need, and how that actually can impact our relationships with our kids, with our partners, with our friends. Like it's really fascinating. Like we think, oh, it's just about time and what we, but it actually can have a great impact on relationships. I'm actually thinking about my ex-husband, who was someone who liked to get to the airport like just in the quote unquote nick of time, and we would be running for the plane. And like he loved because he could go through the TSA line, and like if he was running onto the plane, that was ideal. And a couple of times he would even miss an airplane, and it would just stress me out to no end, right? And so it would create like conflict in the relationship.
Yes. And you know
Yeah,
what this is making me think about is, right, the topic tonight is about communication. And sometimes when you are aware of someone's perception or their feeling or their value around something, such as time or whatever it is, and that allows me now to understand, and now I can take that into consideration and it not just be about me. I'm the same. I'm not as bad as I don't want to be running on to the flight. I'm working. I have improved so much with time, but because I know, historically where I had been, I usually put it onto my husband. I'm like, listen, we have to go to the thing. What time do you think we should go? Got it. Because the way my mind used to work was like, oh no, it only takes about 20 minutes to get there. But I wouldn't necessarily be thinking about, you got to park, you have to find parking. What if there is all the other stuff that happens? And I think what I used to think, and this has been about 2 years now, but what I used to think that, you get somewhere and they're late and you're waiting. And I'm just like, I don't want to be sitting there waiting. I want to go in and just be ready to go. But I now subscribe to what you were explaining, Melanie, and it's, being able to connect with someone prior to, or just kind of get acclimated. I no longer like that feeling internally where it was like, oh my gosh, rushing, oh my goodness. Right. That started to be overwhelming as I got older. So, but all in all, I wanted to say all of that because I definitely think it's related to this conversation of communication. And, so if I know, right. So Melanie, what does time mean to you? Damaris Obiama, what does time mean to you? I can respect where you stand as well.
And then one other thing I would add to that is also like I can respect where you stand, and to not take personally if somebody
Yes.
doesn't, like, to not take it as if. So my sister is someone who is one of my sisters. I have three sisters. One of my sisters is, we consider her the quote unquote artist in the family. There's a whole other issue with labeling us as like who we are in the family, but we won't go there right now. But anyway, so, and she just is where she is. And when she arrives, she is there. Like when she's there, she like does, like she almost doesn't have a concept of time. And I used to take it personally. Like she's not respecting my time, and she's not, but once I really realized, it's not about me. It's not personal. That also helped improve the relationship and improve our communication. And then rather than getting upset, I could communicate that to her and say, this is how it's making me feel. Like I could own it. And please, like, this is what I need from you. And she tries. But so it's just more of an understanding. What happened to Aaliyah? We lost her.
I think we lost her for a minute. She'll be right back. And I'm gonna say that I think that's so interesting. Whenever I go, and I had to learn this trait because I was very easily agitated as I was a child, right?
Mhm.
So I learned and through my ADHD, right? Undiagnosed as a child ADHD, because my family would never even think about, the ADHD. It was also the forbidden word at home. I was just a normal child, but I knew I was different, right? And so in order to control my anger, it took me years to be very controlled. And I say this for the reason now is that my blood pressure is always calm, always stable, no matter what situation I'm in, right? So let's just suppose I'm on the line to TSA, trying to get my plane, and the people around me are upset, they're agitated because they're not on time. Right? They're not on time. And you can tell if you ever observe around you when people like either in the supermarket or in a line, it's because they have somewhere to go and they underestimated their time. Right? So that's when the agitation happens. And I'm just, oh, great. They'll come to me and be like, I got to go. Would you like to come in front of me? Why? Because I'm on time. This is not going to aggravate my life. I'm on time. So I have a little extra time that I'm going to gift you. Go ahead, go in front of me. Right. So thinking about that, it's really interesting. I practice that a lot and I observe around me, and it just makes me laugh to see. That makes me laugh, kind of like a giggle inside of me, like, haha, you should be on time. So Aaliyah, do that.
Oh, listen. I don't invite stress, right? Unnecessary stress anymore. And that's what it was.
Yeah.
And so now it's like for your own self-care,
Mm-hmm.
right? Do what you need to do to be on time, right? So it is a different space. It is definitely a different space. But that used to be the mindset. It was like, I don't want to wait. Everybody's going to be late. So now that is not the case. That is not the case. So I do not want to be remiss and not circle back so that we can find out who our guest is. Melanie, can you go? You want to
Actually, no, that I will introduce myself this way to find, as you said, because Damaris, you did say something that I really, first of all, I love what you said about, I'm going to imagine like if we could all walk through the world and then just like be so kind as to go, wow, you can go in front of me. I have extra time. You know what? This car's cutting in front of me. Maybe they've got somewhere to go. Maybe they're instead of us getting like aggravated and annoyed and what do you do? Like, I'm just like picturing you in the world. I'm like, wow, like what an awesome like model that is. But another thing that you said, which is how I will sideways introduce myself with this, is you said about when you were a child that you had ADHD, but it went undiagnosed because there was this, at least this is what I understood, and correct me if I'm wrong, that in the family, there was almost like a shame around.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. There was a shame around there being a learning difference or you having a different learning style. But you knew as a child, like no matter how like the adults around you were trying to mold you into something that you were not, and not honoring you for who you are, not who you were, but who you are. Right. And then you grew into that yourself. Like, that's really beautiful how you ended up claiming that, owning that, and then really coming into who you are on your own. But imagine if we could, again, just, I'm picturing this, to be more mindful. So what I've done in my life is I was a parent educator. I've been a parent educator since 2004 when my twins were born in 2002. So they're now 21. And prior to them being born, I was working as a deputy district attorney in Los Angeles County. And I worked in juvenile and, realized, okay, I want to have more connection with my kids because there were parents who were really struggling with teens. Right. And so I wanted to have more connection for myself and then also be able to teach other parents how to have that connection with their kids. And then I went through this really difficult, let's say, divorce. It was very challenging. I became the target of parental alienation and went down this rabbit hole and then ended up feeling like a failure as a mother. Not sure if anyone can relate to that, but that was super fun. And then I found my way into this world as a transformational coach, both as a transformational trainer on Lisa Nichols campus, as well as a neurotransformational life coach through Sean Smith, and they work together, Lisa and Sean. I know two of you I know from Lisa's campus, and so it's been a really cool, awesome journey of really coming back home to myself. And so when you said that, Damaris, it really resonated. And I also have two children, two of my kids, one of my twins and my youngest son. Did I say I said I have 21-year-old twins, but I also have a 17-year-old son, and they're neurodiverse. So, that's another interesting challenges for like honoring out who our kids are and really allowing them to be who they are and loving them for who they are regardless.
So I want to jump in here because we're talking about communication, and we're also talking about empathy and being kind, right, with yourself. So Melanie, if you could share with us what that transition was, because like you, I've also experienced divorce, and it is easy to sit in a seat of shame. It's easy to crucify yourself and hang yourself out to dry. It's easy to be the judge and the juror and to overanalyze what you could have done differently, right? But in terms of communication and empathy, what was your transition from feeling like that to understanding that if you had the capacity to make different decisions, you would have, and that there's nothing wrong with you. Everything is right with you. It just wasn't a good relationship for whatever reason that it wasn't a good relationship. So if you can talk a little bit about that communication with you, not so much with other people, because we get stuck with the communication we have with ourselves. We get stuck and end up being paralyzed with that negative self-sabotaging talk and those internal conversations. So if you can speak to that.
Absolutely, my love. And one of the words that you said was, and I love that you used this word, you said you realized that you could have done something differently. And I think sometimes when we're talking to ourselves and sometimes to other people, but especially to ourselves, we use the word should. I should have done this. I should have known that. And I say should is to, is this like PG? Can I swear on this show? Like, can I, no, I'm swearing. Okay. So should on yourself is shoulding on yourself. You guys do the translation of that. That's okay, right?
So
I do it all the time. Okay. Let me just say this. I slip all the time. Everybody knows I slip all the time.
For using the should word, you mean? Is that okay? So, all right, but I didn't. You see how good I'm staying in the lines here. So it's that kind of languaging though, because for me, like shame is we have this belief that and again, it's SHAME, that we should have already mastered everything.
Oh, that's good.
Isn't that good?
That's good.
Right? And the truth is, we know what we know at the time that we know it, and we do the best we can with what we know at that time. And we would not speak, you guys, to our best friends the way we speak to ourselves. I'm just watching the three of you and the like head nodding, right? Because it is so impactful when we can actually think about that. And part of what needs to happen is slowing down our thoughts. The first step is awareness, to even become aware, because that programming that plays is almost automatic. And we are so, it is like we go into the self-abuse room all the time. Not I'm going to say all the time, but yes, all the time, and then some of the time. And so part of Obi, what helped me come out of it was finding a community of people that love me. And one of the things that, I love Lisa Nichols, and one of the things she says is, sometimes she had to see herself through somebody else's lens. She couldn't even see herself. But if she would say to somebody would give her a compliment and she would say, "Can I borrow your lenses?" Right? And sometimes, like for me, someone would give me a compliment and it would literally be like, yeah, like just go past the ears, go over the head. Like, didn't even hear the compliment because I couldn't receive it. I couldn't take it in. And so even just starting with that, receive it. And not even just thank you, but I receive that, like really receiving. Because if somebody told me something bad about myself or criticized me, oh, that went right in. Like that went right in. It found its parking spot and it never left. And that seed got planted and it bloomed. Right. And so it's having that awareness first and foremost, and then finding a community. So connecting back to me, then finding a community of support of people that could and would love me for who I am. And then one of the best things that has happened in these past couple years is really finding that connection to my higher power, who I call God, and recognizing that. And I love this, you guys. Let me let this one land. God doesn't have grandchildren.
That's right, because we're all equal. We're all his children. There are no grandchildren. There are no stepchildren. We are all. We are all. You know what's interesting? I just read this scripture yesterday that says, "I am the God of all flesh. I am the God of all flesh." And I just kept saying it like over and over all day long. I am the God of all flesh, and it just really resonated with me because we're we're all flawed as well. He's the God of all flawed people. Yes, that part.
That amen is what I can say, right? And so when we recognize that, like I actually believe that we're all truly, we arrive as souls, which is a state of unconditional love, SOUL, right? And we're connected to that source of unlimited light that for me is God. And so if we arrive and we just arrive in these containers, and then these containers go through what we go through, but we separate ourselves based on like the flesh sometimes that we see, or the religion we know someone is, or the sexual orientation, or what someone's gender preference is, or whatever that is. We find all these, but really when we can speak to each other, find that soul within each of us, and then come together as community in the love that we are. I mean, even on the call that we had before this call, the things that we shared with each other, and then someone would share like, I've been through such and such, and then one of us would be, yeah, me too. And it was like all of us could find those identifying things that we could be like, wow, I can touch that pain. There's an empathy, Obi, that you spoke about, right? You spoke about empathy. We can have that empathy because we've had those experiences. And when we can come together in that way and communicate in that way and recognize that our children are doing the best they can, just like we're doing the best we can. Yeah. And just have that love in our side of our communication and listen. Yeah. It's golden.
I love what you just said about understanding that our kids are doing the best that they can. Damaris and I have been having some very heart to heart conversations, and this was a part of it. Like, this is where our children are, and they can't be where we want them to be because they don't have the capacity to be, right? And being able to love them where they are, but in a way that doesn't hurt us.
Yes.
I
Right.
actually once she said that, I wrote it down. I'm gonna post it, and thank you, Melanie, because I think I'm exactly like you said. I'm where I needed to be at the right time, right? And yes, Obiama and I have been talking, about my children and so on and so forth, and um, understanding that our children are doing the best that they can is deep. I've never heard that. I mean, I haven't heard it in that. I've heard many things, but not like that. And that resonates with me. So I want to say thank you.
And Damaris, I'm going to overuse the word capacity, and I'm going to even unpack that a little bit more. When our kids act in certain ways, they're letting us know the skills that they don't have. Just like we don't have certain skills, right? Our children are letting us know this is where I need skill. Like, let's say the 2-year-old that's tantruming, or the 12-year-old that's giving us tood, or whatever it is. They just haven't learned some of those skills. Or let's say I'm going to just use an example, a school example, right? Like we say this expression, like we learn from our mistakes, right? But if our kids fail, we freak out as parents. But actually and I'm not saying let's encourage failure, but I've also really reprogrammed myself in terms of, what does failure mean? To fail, FAIL, is to find answers in learning. Yes. And Nelson Mandela, who is my absolute hero, he's my ultimate hero, says, don't judge me on my success. Judge me on how many times I've fallen and gotten up again. And that may not be a direct quote, but that's the gist of it, right? Where do we build those strengthening muscles? It's from falling and getting up. But we sometimes as parents will come down so hard on our kids. Why? Because it's a reflection on us. We feel judged if they're not doing well in the world, or they don't have the skills that we think they need, or we think that society thinks they need, or our mother-in-law, or our mother, or our grandparent, you know what I mean? Or our friend, or we're going to be, no.
I also feel like the school system has a lot to do with that too, right? The expectations that they put on the children and the stresses that they put on the children too, because each child learns differently, right? And they forget that they need to meet the children where they at and to build that children. So once I know that in early childhood, many of us, we meet the children where they at, right? Or we try to, right? One of, the high quality programmings do that. And when you go into the K to 12, it seems that is forgotten, right? Then you have those standardized test scores, you have this, and then the families are also, me as a parent, right, are pushing them at home as well, right? And then some of them are not because they don't have the capability to do that. Maybe there's some language barriers, maybe they didn't go to school. There is so much, and then that is just so much stress on children and so on. It's like, it's really, really crazy, and that's where we lose our children.
And I think it's so much, right, piggybacking on what you're saying, is like the judgment and the scoring and the did you fail, instead of, right, this being an opportunity for more questions, right, and celebrating the fact, right, we've heard the line, right, taking 10,000 shots. That totally did something for me in regards to, okay, this really isn't about losing or winning. This is about just taking the shot and taking the shot. And so for our children and us, when we jump out there and do something, regardless of the outcome, I did that. And so, when I have conversations with my children now, it really is about, it's not about what I think about what you did. It's about what right. So how do you feel about that? So what do you think about next time? So, and I think that also is what's missing, in the school system, is this idea of, let me show you the method to do this math this way, not necessarily the word problem or the way to figure it out. I was talking to my daughter last night, the 12-year-old, and she's just like, I just don't understand word problems. Like, I mean, am I going to need that the rest of my life? And I said, it's not necessarily about the word problem. It's really like a life problem or a scenario, right? And I'm like, imagine, someone comes to you. My 9-year-old had a word problem in the car on the way to gymnastics. She's like, if Beyonce had $800 and Rihanna had, it was a word problem, right? But I'm like, it's really life skills. It's not about just math. It's about, here's the situation. How do we figure it out? And I think if our children had the opportunity to be asked more questions so that they can figure it out and kind of strengthen their skills, then they can apply it to so many different areas versus, you failed again. You failed again. I'm calling your parent. You failed again. And it's like, right? So where are we building the resilience? Where's the empathy? Where's the right communication? All of that stuff is broken down in between. So
I
And
love.
here's the thing. Wait. I want to say this because you just touched it. It immediately made me think about those toddlers and those preschoolers that are not being communicated with the best of empathy and compassion. Like they're 2, they're 3, they're 1 years old, and the standards are so high. It's so high. The standards are so high, and so to your point, like the same. I say it this way: the same grace when I'm talking to teachers, the same grace that you need, these babies need as well. Don't forget you need grace. Don't forget you need mercy. Don't forget you're going to need somebody to say, "Are you okay? How can I support you?" Like that. I'm like, keep that same energy because you're going to need it. So you need to think about that in your interactions with this child, because as adults don't remember that they need kindness, they need empathy, they need grace. And when you hear adults, whether it's a parent or a teacher, talking the way they talk, just heartless sometimes to these babies, it's like, oh my God.
yes, yeah.
So, Obi, what you said is they don't remember.
Mm,
They don't remember. And that's really important. They don't remember because that gets programmed over.
mm,
And we have to like unprogram and deprogram. And actually that even goes back to Aaliyah's point, which I absolutely loved, which was, we think as adults that we are the ones with all the answers, and that we're lecturing and we're scolding and we're reprimanding, blah blah blah. But really, if we can just come with the questions, and then communication is really listening.
yes.
I was brought up in a household that do as I say. What's the phrase? I'm over here thinking and
Yeah,
do
do
What I say
yeah,
and as I do.
right.
right, absolutely. And so that you talk about the programming, right? And that is something that takes skill. And even like my oldest daughter, I was so hard on her. Um, because I was a first time mom, right? And then when I had my second one, she's my wild child. And then then I have my other two children, which they're going. But my little one gets away with murder, right? Because I'm older and I'm like, I just love her.
Over it.
Yeah, I'm over it. I'm just like, you're so cute. And she could be burning down the house, and I'm like, you're so adorable. But what I'm trying to say is that we deprogram, but parenting doesn't come with a book,
No.
and we have to learn how to go with the mistakes that we made. You know, fortunately, I have 4 kids, so I was able to do it 4 times. But even if you have one child, right, and just open up. I just recently, I had one of my children. Our relationship is not that great, and I know it's because of me. I'm not letting go. I'm not there yet. Right. I need to do some forgiveness. I need to forgive myself. I need to do a lot. But I did try, so I took her away, and we had this really great time, and I'm really trying to connect. And, allowing parents need to allow themselves grace to
Mm-hmm.
learn how to forgive, to
Mm-hmm.
learn how to forget. And I just want to tell you, Melanie, that was probably one of your juvenile delinquents, because I went through the system many, many times. So you're probably one of my district attorneys. And it took community.
Mm,
It took community, and it took one person to not give up on me. And no matter how mean and how angry and how horrible I was to her, she was there all the
Mm-hmm.
time, listening and communicating and talking and providing positive feedback. And that's what I guess that's why I wanted to come into, with children, right? Working with children, because I something I want to give back to my children. That's something I want to give back to our students in our community, because there's many children that were brought up like me, right? I slept in the A train, right? I'm from New York, so I slept in the A train as a child. I was homeless. I did so much, and I should not be here, but my God had a plan for me,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to share that with you.
And Damaris, you're bringing up the system again. The like, to me, I really, it was very disconcerting and upsetting to work in the juvenile system, like to see how, the way we were as lawyers. I'm like, these kids need to be learning, not for this, like, you're talking about the educational system, you're talking about the criminal justice system. Criminal justice, that's a joke. Just in terms of these systems, and one of the things you also said that I really, that really or really, like, I picked up on, was you said that, children don't come with like, parenting, it doesn't come with a book, right? We don't get the parenting manual. There isn't the one size fits all. The reality is, no one child is the same. None of us are the same. And part of why I believe we go through these challenging and difficult experiences that we go through is because those are our biggest teachers. Mm-hmm. I can tell you, my failures have been my failure, or my perception of failure has been my biggest teacher.
Absolutely.
Yep. And it's what strengthens us again, right? Yes. And it's finding that compassion. And so, like, even what you're saying, I also believe, and you guys, there's so many things that you've said that I could just run with tangents on with each of you. I could be here with you guys for the rest of the night. But one of the things that you said, was about, like, how you treated your one child differently and your other child different, but with the 4 kids, and how you've changed, but each child needed something different. And I also believe that we pick our parents because there's something that we learn from them. And so even what you went through, I mean, I don't know where you are on your journey now with your own parents, or, but we pick them, and you learn through that system. And that's the other thing that we have to learn, I think, as parents, is that it's not all on us. Exactly. We think, especially as mothers, that that's our job. And if something goes awry, we did something wrong, we messed up, it's our fault. That's where that guilt and that shame and that self-blame and that self-judgment comes in. But what you just described, Damaris, is, I'm assuming that the person who stuck by you was not your parent.
Nope. No, she was not my parent. She was actually one of the social worker in the juvenile system. And to answer your question, to the best that I can, I'm at peace with my parents.
I love that, which means what that means to me is you found, there's forgiveness in there, and you've forgiven yourself to forgive. Like, there's a whole thing, right? You and I are going to have to be having for sure. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's huge. Like, these things are just also huge.
Yes. And one thing it made me think about, right? Talking about children, we all work with children, or have worked with children in the past, or have children, but I think we miss so many opportunities. Every time we're engaging with the child, there's so many opportunities to learn. With my children, I swear I learned so much about myself through them. I just found myself in the youngest one. I said, that is me. We are so much alike. I really get to learn myself more as I'm engaging with my children. My husband said, "Oh my goodness, that's you. I understand you better," right? It's like, but even children in the child care program, or children that we work with, even, how they come up with stuff and the answers they come up with and how they deal with things. And there's so many opportunities because they don't have these restrictions, and they don't come from this space that we come from. We did, I know I had done in the summer when I was teaching some high school students, I don't know if any of you ever did the like the marshmallow challenge with the sticks, right? And so
my
they
favorite
say,
STEM activity.
oh my goodness, love it, love it, love it. And so when I did the research on it, I saw
Say
that.
what it is. Say what it is, because some people may
Oh,
Yeah,
not know.
very
I
true.
don't know.
Okay. The marshmallow. So it is. It's a great team building activity, and it has been done with engineers. Like everyone. Like a lot of people use it, but you basically get a couple of spaghetti sticks, raw, right? Spaghetti sticks, only like 8 or something like that. A little bit of tape and one marshmallow. And so you need to build it to where as though it's freestanding and the marshmallows on top. And so whoever builds the highest wins. And so, everyone's all competitive. It's hard to hold up and it's all of that. But in all of that research, children were the best, they had the best results. And so, I always thought that was interesting. And they said in the research, because they don't come with these confines that we get all deep and we want to do all, they just come in and they put it together with their free minds. And I say that to say that if we just pause a little bit and just took a step back and not always look at ourselves as the authority, but really as the student amongst children, I think we would thrive. I think we would be so much better.
Here, here. Amen. I
I agree.
agree. Yes, yes,
I agree
yes.
100%.
Laverne said, I'm still working on being at peace. Sent my dad a good morning today because I notice what I crave from my sons, I do not give to my parents. I have tried to give it to my mom, but it's not received. So I have to find peace.
Wow.
Wow.
And yeah, and Laverne, can I just say that my hope would be that you just enjoy the giving, like
Mm,
not worry about what is or isn't received, because it's what you're putting out in the world and then how that makes you feel. And then again, I don't know if you were here at the beginning of the conversation, we were talking about, I don't know if this was before we went online, you guys, or we were already online, but just about not to take it personally, not to feel rejected. So it's just, yeah, just enjoy the giving of it. And how does that make you feel? Kind of back to, the point that was made earlier, when you're in line and you just let somebody come in front of you, like that just that act of giving and what that puts into the world, no matter how somebody else receives it, what you're giving out, and also what we are modeling, whether it is to our own children or other children in the world, right? Like we're all raising children all the time. And that's what I'm saying. And that's where we can actually also give ourselves a little bit of grace as moms, to take some of that pressure off us, to know that God is sending angels all the time that are touching our children's lives, and that we're all, if we're touching a child's life, we have that ability to have that impact. That's why I called my company my original company that I started was Empowered Parenting, and it had the word parenting in it: empower yourself, empower your child. But then I switched to Raising Enlightened Children, because, and what we need to raise an enlightened child is what all of you guys are talking about on here, is raising an enlightened self.
yes.
Well, I think this is a good time to kind of wrap this up, because to your point, Melanie, we could go on and on and on. This is such a great conversation, but what a great way to end. How do you enlighten your children? By enlightening yourself. So for
Yes.
those of you who have been listening, I hope that you have enjoyed this wonderful, delicious conversation. I'm so excited about all of the conversations that we've been having and that we're going to continue to have. And so, Melanie, how can they get in contact with you?
So I can be reached. My email is melanie@raisingenlightenedchildren.com. And I actually, if it's okay, I just want to thank you guys for what you're doing in the world, what you're bringing into the world. And I am just so, so, so grateful for the absolute beauty and peace and joyfulness and love that you're all bringing, because it just, you can so completely feel it in this space, and you guys just emanate it. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's interesting. I was going to say, I just feel so, this felt like such a calming conversation, right? Like I feel really calm. So thank you for joining us and sharing. I do, like, look, I got all quiet. Like, thank you for sharing. But
Me too. You know,
Melanie,
I really enjoyed tonight.
yes,
You did bring, I don't know what powers came behind you, but I welcomed it. Um, it was very easy to speak with you and then to hear you too, right? Because people speak, but not necessarily everybody's listening. So just know that I was listening.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I was listening, and you said some things here. You share some goodies with me, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
And you shared some goodies with me, each one of you. So I was really listening too, and it was very, very clear in this space. I feel like there was, and that, we're talking about communication. Such, it was so mutual, like such respectful listening, going back to that, because we really are listening to what each other is saying. And that's where we're uniting. And that's, if we're doing that with each other, we're doing that with our children, and it goes back to, actually, again, something, Damaris, you said you grew up in a household where it was said, do what I say and not what I do. But actually children do what we do and what we say. And so what you guys are modeling, and clearly this is how you're being in your households for your own children, and what you're lighting up into the world is just beautiful. So thank you.
thank you. Thank you
Well,
so much. Thank you for joining us. And for
yeah.
the contact for Melanie is on the screen, and I'll put it in the YouTube show notes so that you can contact her. Clearly, you see, we didn't get to unpack too much. So if you need something and you want to find out more about raising enlightened children, contact Melanie. Thank you so much for joining us. Obiama, you wanted to say something?
I'm good.
What? She doesn't want to say anything? Oh, Melanie, you were good.
You see it? We're all going to sleep. We're going to sleep
I'm
good.
complete. That's the
Like
word.
you're
That's the word.
complete.
That's what I wanted to
Full.
say. I'm complete.
Awesome.
I am
Yes.
complete.
Yes.
It's a full. It's a full. That's it. So thank you again. Everyone have an amazing evening. Thank you for joining us this evening. The Impact Podcast. Until next time. See you guys.
Thank you so much for having me, you guys.